Have you ever felt invisible? Like no matter how hard you try, your voice just doesn't carry enough weight to be heard. What if I told you there's someone out there who knows exactly what that feels like? Someone with power, money, and influence, but still couldn't escape the crushing weight of being dismissed. Before we dive into this story, let me ask you something. Where are you watching from right now? Are you curled up on your couch in London, scrolling through your phone in Sydney, or maybe sipping coffee somewhere cozy in Toronto? Let us know in the comments below. It helps us see just how far this message can travel. And hey, don't forget to hit that like button before we begin. You're an amazing person for taking the time to listen. And trust me, this story is made exactly for people like you. Let's dive in. It was a chilly Tuesday afternoon when Nolan Hayes decided he'd had enough. Enough of emails piling up unread, meetings stretching late into the night, and employees nodding along without truly listening. He wasn't just another corporate bigwig. He was a founder of Crestview Malls, one of the largest retail chains in the country. But today, Nolan wanted nothing more than to step away from his penthouse office and experience life as an ordinary customer. He slipped into a plain black jacket, traded his Rolex for a simple wristwatch, and grabbed a receipt for a defective blender he'd purchased weeks ago under a fake name. The item had stopped working after only 3 uses, and while most CEOs would have shrugged it off, Nolan saw this as an opportunity, a chance to test his own company's values firsthand. The mall was bustling, alive with chatter and laughter. Kids tugged at their parents' sleeves near the candy shop. Teenagers huddled by the fountain snapping selfies. An elderly couple strolled arm in arm, savoring ice cream cones. It all seemed so perfect, so polished. Yet beneath the surface, Nolan knew cracks could form anywhere, even here in his pride and joy. When he entered Crestview Essentials, the store where he bought the faulty blender, he barely recognized it. Gone were the vibrant displays and cheerful signage he remembered approving months ago. Instead, shelves sagged under dusty products, and the checkout counter looked cluttered with mismatched price tags and sticky wrappers. Standing behind the register was a man in his mid-30s wearing a wrinkled uniform shirt 2 sizes too small. His name tag read, Gregory Miller, manager. Nolan approached cautiously, clutching the receipt tightly in his hand. "Hi," he said, forcing a polite smile. "I need to return this blender. It stopped working after a few days." Gregory glanced up briefly, then went back to tapping on his phone. Without even looking at the receipt, he muttered, "Sorry, returns aren't allowed unless the packaging is unopened." Nolan blinked, stunned. "But the box was unopened when I brought it home. I kept everything intact until I realized it didn't work properly." Gregory sighed dramatically, finally meeting Nolan's gaze. "Look, buddy, rules are rules. If you open it, use it, whatever, you're out of luck. Next." Something inside Nolan snapped. This wasn't just about the blender anymore. It was about respect, fairness, and accountability. "Do you have any idea how ridiculous this sounds?" he demanded, his voice rising slightly. "Your product failed me, not the other way around." By now, a small crowd had gathered nearby, curious about the heated exchange. Gregory crossed his arms defensively. "Listen, pal, I don't make the rules, I just enforce them. Take it up with corporate if you've got a problem." Corporate. The word hit Nolan like a punch to the gut. How ironic that the very system he built was failing its customers. And him. For a moment, he considered revealing his true identity. But something stopped him. Maybe it was pride, or maybe it was a faint hope that Gregory might surprise him. Either way, he chose to play along. "Fine," Nolan said coldly. "I'll take it up with corporate. But mark my words, Mr. Miller, this isn't over." As he stormed out of the store, the weight of his frustration pressed down on him. Was this really what his empire had become? A place where managers treated customers like nuisances and policies overruled common sense? Back in his car, he dialed his assistant, Rachel Caldwell, and instructed her to dig deep into Gregory's employment records. Something about the man's attitude didn't sit right, and Nolan needed answers. Rachel called back later that evening, her tone unusually grave. "You're not going to believe this," she began. "Gregory Miller hasn't worked a legitimate job in over 5 years. He submitted fake credentials during the hiring process, claiming he managed a high-end boutique in Seattle. Turns out, he was fired from a fast food chain for stealing cash registers. Nolan's stomach churned. So, how did he end up managing one of our stores? That's the kicker, Rachel continued. Someone higher up must have approved his application manually. No background checks, no interviews, nothing. It's almost like they wanted him to slip through unnoticed. Unnoticed? The word echoed in Nolan's mind. Had his own ambition blinded him to the flaws within his organization? He thought back to the countless hours he'd spent building Crestview malls from scratch, dreaming of creating spaces where people felt valued and respected. Now, it seemed those dreams had turned into nightmares for both employees and customers alike. Determined to uncover the truth, Nolan returned to the mall the next day, disguised once again. This time, however, he headed straight for the security office. There, he met a young guard named Leo Martinez, whose kind eyes and genuine demeanor immediately put him at ease. "Leo," Nolan began, lowering his voice, "I need your help. Something's wrong with Gregory Miller, and I think it goes deeper than just bad customer service." Leo hesitated, glancing nervously toward the door. "I don't know, sir, if HR finds out I talked." "You won't get in trouble," Nolan assured him. "Trust me, this is important. Just tell me what you've seen." After a long pause, Leo nodded. "All right, but promise you won't say I told you. Gregory's been skimming cash from the register for months. He also forces new hires to pay him training fees under the table. Anyone who refuses gets fired within a week." Nolan's fist clenched involuntarily. "Does anyone else know about this?" "Not officially," Leo admitted, "but rumors spread fast among the staff. They're scared, though, scared to speak up because they think no one will listen. No one will listen." Those 4 words haunted Nolan as he left the mall that evening. How many voices had been silenced by fear? How many injustices had gone unaddressed simply because those in power refused to hear them? He realized then that fixing this mess wouldn't be easy. It would require sacrifices, uncomfortable conversations, and perhaps even stepping down from the pedestal he'd built for himself. The following morning, Nolan called an emergency meeting with his executive team. When everyone was seated around the conference table, he stood up and addressed them directly. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a serious issue on our hands. One that threatens the integrity of everything we've worked so hard to build. A manager at one of our stores has been exploiting both employees and customers. And worse yet, it appears someone within this room enabled him to do so." Gasps rippled through the room as Nolan revealed the evidence Rachel and Leo had uncovered. By the end of the presentation, tears streamed down some faces, while others stared blankly at their desks, unable to comprehend the magnitude of their failure. In the weeks that followed, drastic changes swept through Crestview malls. Gregory was arrested and several executives, including the one who'd falsified his application, were terminated. New protocols were implemented to ensure transparency and accountability at every level. Most importantly, Nolan launched an initiative called Voices Matter, encouraging employees and customers alike to share their concerns without fear of retaliation. One evening, as Nolan sat alone in his office reflecting on everything that had transpired, Rachel knocked softly on the door. "Sir, there's something I think you should see," she said, handing him a stack of letters. Each envelope contained heartfelt messages from employees thanking him for standing up for them. One note, written in shaky handwriting, read, "For the first time in years, I feel like my voice actually matters. Thank you for reminding me that kindness and courage still exist." Tears welled up in Nolan's eyes as he read each letter. In that moment, he understood the true lesson behind his journey. Power isn't about control. It's about responsibility. Real leadership means lifting others up, even when it's inconvenient or painful. And so, dear friends, I leave you with this question. When was the last time you truly listened to someone else's story? Because sometimes the smallest act of empathy can change the world for them and for you. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below, wherever you may be watching from. You're incredible for sticking with me till the end. And remember, every voice matters.